So today, I will continue the report of Ms. Diana Sorheto, in which I will tackle the number 3 of the domain, in which it tackled the stakeholders engagement, in which the school heads should engage to all the stakeholders that involves in the school. So number 3, stakeholders engagement, sustaining collaborative relationships with stakeholders. So as school heads, you should cooperate and collaborate in relationships with the stakeholders, in which you will support community-based programs and projects and communicate school performance reports to stakeholders. The fourth is managing school resources and systems. So as a school heads, you should manage the school resources and systems that in which you will manage the financial resources, manage your learning environment, and also manage systems and procedures. Next is the fifth, in which managing staff performance. So as school heads, you would also manage the performance of your staff in the schools. You will manage school personnel requirements, the requirements. You will support professional development of staff and recognize staff performance if the staff of the school is performing what they need to be performed, or what they need to perform for their students to develop, or for the school to develop, for the curriculum to develop. Number 6 is managing sustainable school performance and projects. You will demonstrate programs and project management skills, and also you will promote school-based programs and projects that support sustainable development. Next domain is the domain in which instructional leadership, or IL. Lead As a school heads, you will lead leading curriculum implementations and improvements. So you will lead the curriculum implementations and the curriculum improvement, in which you will manage curriculum implementation, promote sensitivity of diversity and differentiated instruction. Next, as instructional leaders, you will creating a learner-centered environment. So you will create a learner-centered environment, in which you will promote learner-centered activities, all activities that focusing on the learner's improvement, promote a healthy, safe, and inclusive learning environment, in which in that specific environment you will secure that it is healthy, it is safe, and it is inclusive only for the learning. Next is to promote a culture of peace and respect for diversity. So you will also create a environment in which have the culture peace, or a collaborative of culture and a respect to the differences of individual. Next is the supervising and evaluating teachers' performance. So you will apply appropriate models for supervisions and evaluation, and nurture teacher leaders. Next is delivering planned learning outcomes. You will promote team-based approaches to instructional leadership. So it is not only for the individual approaches, but a team-based approaches to that will benefits the environment, in which you will promote team-based approaches for the instructional leadership. And next is manage assessment to improve teaching and learning. So you will manage an assessment that could develop or improve the education, or the teaching and learning process. Next domain is the personal excellence, or PE, in which you were managing personal effectiveness. Lead by example, demonstrate transparency and accountability, practice a balanced, healthy lifestyle, take pride in one's profession, in which you will take pride in one's profession. You will accept, or you will take pride or acceptance in one's professions, neither either is low or high professions, and also you will deliver results. Next is the personal excellence is the acting on challenges and possibilities, in which you will manage priorities. So you will always manage first your priorities, that personal priorities. Next is exhibit decisiveness in addressing challenges and exhibit an enterprising attitude. Last is pursuing continuous professional development, in which will take responsibility for lifelong learning. So, in pursuing continuous professional development, you will not only stick to what you you have now, but you will always eager to learn something, or you will eager to develop your personal excellence or personal learning knowledge, in which you will that will take responsibility for lifelong learner. It is could benefit also not only yourselves but also your learners. It is a lifelong learning. And advocate ASEAN values and perspectives. Next domain is the stakeholder engagement, or SE. So you will promoting shared responsibility for school improvement. You will build trust and lead teams, communities for school improvement. So as school heads, you will build trust and lead teams. So you are responsible for the trust and teams, that you in that specific teams there is the cooperations, collaborations, or the relationships, a peace relationships between individuals that could lead for school, communities and school improvement. Empower the community to work for enhancements of school performance. So you will also empower, or you will also um empower means you will engage the community to work for the to work for the also the enhancement or the development of the school performance. Next is the managing education's alliances and networks, in which you communicate effectively with the different stakeholders. So, in this, you will manage educations and alliance network. You will communicate effectively with different stakeholders. You will make a relationship or the communications that is operate and effective with the different stakeholders that involve in the community and the school relationship. Facilitate school community partnership and activities. So not only the communities who will communicate and the or benefits, not only the school will benefit from the community, but also the community will benefits from the school, in which you will facilitate um, partnership and activities that in the schools and involve in the community, and the community involves in the school. So promote consensus building and manage conflicts and practice negotiation skills. Next is sustaining collaborative relationships with stakeholders, which is will support community-based programs and projects. So as I've said, so you will also need to collaborate or cooperate with relationships between you and the stakeholders or the peoples involved in the school and community partnership or relationship. You will communicate school performance reports to stakeholders. Next is managing school resources and system, in which you will manage financial resources, you will manage learning environments, and manage systems and procedures. Next is managing staff performance. So, as stakeholders or the you will also manage the staff, as I've said, staff performance. You will manage school personal requirements, the requirements they need to meet in the specific school and community relationship or the learning process. You will also support professional development of staff. You will engage the staff into different learning environment in which they could develop or enhance their knowledge. As school heads, you will recognize staff performance. So as I've said, you will also need to observe the performance of the staff. Either they perform well in the school or in the community, or they will perform what they need to be performed in that specific environment. Lastly is managing sustainable school programs and projects. So you will demonstrate programs and project management skills. So you will demonstrate some programs and projects or management skills that could improve the community and the school relationship. You will also promote school-based programs and projects that support sustainable development. So you will also find some programs and projects that could sustain the development of that environment. So, instructional leadership, like the NCBSSH for Philippines, competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads also include domains for instructional leadership and administrative leadership. The domain on instructional leadership encompasses four competences. Firstly is leading curriculum implementations and improvements. So instructional leadership or the instructional leaders should lead the curriculum or the curriculum implementation such as the vision and mission and core values to be implemented, and if this that specific vision, mission and core values is um doesn't meet this standard, so they need to revise or improve. Next is creating a learner-centered environment. So as an instructional leader, you should create a learning-centered environment. So you should find some assessment that could that focused on the learning of the learners, or the teaching process that could make that assessment a learner-centered environment. Next is supervising and evaluating teachers' performance. So as a instructional leader, you should also observe, supervise, and evaluate if the teacher performed well on that teaching and learning process. And lastly, delivering planned learning outcomes. So you should also deliver some planned or steps to the learning outcomes of the student. While the administrative leadership, or the admin, from the word administrative, it talks about the administration, and instructional leaders, it talks about the instructions, the directions, or the process on how to develop or sustain the development. While administrative leadership is they will administer, or they will, such as that said, this includes strategic thinking and innovation. Domain 1 is the stakeholders. The domain 1 is the strategic thinking and innovations, while the domain 4 is the stakeholders engagement and managerial leadership for domain 5. For the enabling competences for each domain refers to the table above. So this domain is talks about the domain that I talked a while ago, in which I talked first the domain, the stakeholders, the engagement, the personal excellence, and many more. So personal excellence is the another domain, or domain 3. It relates to both instructional and administrative leadership. So personal excellence is both for instructional and administrative leadership. Whatever personal improvement school heads have on their personal effectiveness by pursuing continuous professional development redounds to improved administrative and instructional leadership. So, every personal excellence or the personal development, the instructional leadership and administrative leadership should a good benefit for the personal improvement of school heads. Next is the school head and the community. Like a refrain in a song, the idea That the school and community are partners in the education of the child has been said repeatedly in this book. Rightly so, to be faithful to the descriptive title of this course, the teacher and his community, school, culture, and organizational leadership. In fact, in this book, a separate chapter was devoted to school and community partnership to emphasize the significant role of teachers and school heads in relationship to communities. In the NCBSSH, several strands and indicators point to this school and community partnership. The strands are as follows. So, it involves internal and external stakeholders in formulating and achieving school vision, mission goals, and objectives. So it's domain 1A, or the stakeholder engagement. The instructional, it is the it is a what I mean is the implementation and improvement of the school, the school, or it comes from the domain one, in which talks about the stakeholders engagement, explains the school vision up to the general public. So you will it explains the school vision and to the public, align the school improvement plan, annual improvement plan with national, regional, and local education policies and trust, in which it is in domain 1B. Communicates effectively the school improvement plan and annual improvement plan to internal and external stakeholders. Next is involve stakeholders in meeting and deliberations for decision making. So they will involve the stakeholders. So in domain 1 we talks about the stakeholders engagement, so they will involve stakeholders in meetings and deliberations for decision making. Not only the school heads in the school will take a decision making for the community and school partnership, but also it involves the stakeholders to make a decision. It provides feedback and updates to stakeholders on the status and progress and completion of programs and projects. They will also create and manages the school processes to ensure students' progress is conveyed to students and parents, guardians regularly. In domain 2, in C. So they will also secure that they create and manage the progress of the students that is conveyed to students or promised to the students and parents or guardians. Recognized high performing learners and teachers and support parents and other stakeholders on domain 3. So when we say performing learners, domain 3, this talks about the personal excellence or the personal improvement. So here it talks about the performing learners and teacher supportive. So a teacher should also perform well. They will also gain some knowledge to perform well and support the parents and other stakeholders. Prepares financial reports and communicates the same to higher education and authorities and other education partnership. Next is maintains harmonious and pleasant personal and official relationship with superior, colleagues, subordinates, learners, parents, and other stakeholders. So they will maintain the collaborative relationship or the cooperations or the harmonious, the peace between the personal and the official relationship, relations with the stakeholders, the superiors, the colleagues, the subordinates, the learners, and the parents. And lastly, listen to stakeholders' needs and concerns and respond appropriately in considerations of the political, social, legal, and cultural context. So, you should, as a school head, you should not always listen to yourselves or you should not be an authoritarian type of leaders. You should also be a democratic. You should also listen to the other stakeholders concerns and needs their for and response. You should also respond appropriately to in considerations for their political, social, legal, and cultural context. In the Southeast Asian Competency Framework, the following competences strengthen school and community partnership. First, promoting shared responsibility for school improvement. So, this first, as we can see, it is in Southeast Asian Competency Framework. It is this it is strengthen the relationship or partnership of the school and community, because if the community ta- take some responsibility for the schools, such as the improvement of the environment of the school, the classrooms, the books, something like that, and the school also improve uh, the relationship, take responsibility for the relationship between the communities, such as the before there's the schools use test and evacuation center, such as that. So it strengthened the school and community partnership. Second is managing education alliances and networks, and lastly sustaining collaborative relationship with stakeholders. So if the school and the community sustain the relationship or the peace, the harmonious relationship between the stakeholders and the school heads, well, it will also strengthen the school and the community partnership. And that's all of my part. Thank you.